Hello, and welcome to episode 144 of Random Encounter, the RPG Fan Podcast. I am your host, Derek Heemsbergen. I'm at EmbryoonX on Twitter, and today I am joined by Greg, not like a regular dad, but a cool dad, Delmage.
That's me, I guess. I like that moniker. Hopefully, my
Yeah,
daughter feels the same way.
yeah,
No.
and hopefully she doesn't dance to a salacious remix of Jingle Bell Rock at the school talent show.
Oh gosh.
But it's never too late to groom her for that. I don't know. And we are also joined by Stephanie, never eaten an orange Sabidlo. How are you, Steph?
It's true. The juice is just a way better way to go. I'm very good. How's everybody? Like, I could hear you right now, but I hope everyone's doing well.
Yeah, well and swell. You guys, I don't know if Stephanie's been on our podcast super recently. She's been on other ones, but Steph is our social media manager. So whenever you see those cool questions on Twitter, like, what's your favorite color of materia in Final Fantasy VII? It's usually Steph who's behind that, or Nilsson. So
The answer to that is red, undoubtedly.
why is that? Give me your answer. I want an explanation.
Summon, man. I like the summons. They look
Yeah.
pretty.
Okay. No, that's actually, I don't remember what type of materia red is, so I'm a fake gamer boy. You beat me to it.
It's okay.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think I just
green.
earned some Gamer Street credits as much as that's worth.
You did, and it's worth a pretty penny, let me tell you. So I just wanted to check in with everybody. So Greg, I know that you got some exciting stuff coming up on your end with your acting career, right?
So in some ways, yes. I mean, as people know, I am an actor. A few weeks ago, I did some motion capture for a video game, which I don't think has really been broadcast amongst the RPG fans.
That is
Sure.
so cool.
It really
Yeah.
was. It was so fun getting in the suit, having the thing, seeing all the exciting technology in there. I can't say much about it because I'm under NDA still,
Right.
but I can say it's a game that maybe 50% of our fans will play. So I can maybe.
It's a
quote
game.
that.
How about
It's a
that?
game.
I think
Play a
50%
role.
is a
Played
pretty
a
significant
role.
amount, so that's all
I
right.
played a role. It was fun. I got to work with one of the main characters in the game, so that was cool. And which is a person I've actually worked with before, and we did some Shakespeare together way back when, and he
Ooh.
ended up doing this, and then they made a role for him in the game. So that's
Weird
kind of
connections. Yeah.
I
It
kind
was.
of be curious. Who did you play in a Shakespearean play, or which
Oh,
one?
I was. We were. It was a production of Hamlet, and I played Claudius,
Ah, that's awesome.
which is how I met my now fiance Annette. We were both in the show together, and she was a gender bend of Laertes because they did a
Oh my
couple gender bends
God.
for the role, and they made the plot line to have us have some history together.
Yeah.
Before I hooked up
That's
with
cool.
Gertrude, so that added a different kind of element to the Laertes Claudius kind of relationship and such. And
There's
Fun.
nothing
we
quite
got to know each
romantic
other.
like Hamlet, so I mean, I think that's actually really sweet. That's a really
Nothing
sweet.
more
meet
romantic than murdering somebody together.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, have you
cute.
seen
You
the show
actually had the
Dexter?
happy ending.
Yeah, exactly. Just like Dexter. And then aside from that, the other exciting thing is we won a $10,000 grant from Story Hive, which is funded by TELUS, which I think is just a Canadian provider. I don't think they provide down in the States.
I
Yeah,
know
I
what
don't
you're
know.
talking about.
I don't.
They're
I'm
they're a
outnumbered by Canadians.
cable, internet, whatever service provider.
We'll try to
and they
squeeze in more
sponsor
A's
media.
just to make Derek feel bad.
Oh,
Please.
Sure. A.
Yeah.
Hockey and maple syrup too, please. Extra. And poutine.
All right,
Except
you'll
I've worked
fit
so
in.
hard
all
on my
right.
American accent. So we won a $10,000 grant to make a really fun movie, a short film that I think will be very important as it helps people address the whole issue of children struggling with identity and parents, how do they kind of face that. So it'll be fun
This-
to get made.
Cool as
Nice.
hell, Greg.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of work, and we're very excited and frightened because now it's this whole project that we love so much. Now we're like, okay, now we got to do it, not screw
Gotta
it
make
up.
it real. Yeah.
Yeah, for real. I have
Um,
confidence.
Thank you.
And then-
yeah, please keep showing about that. I'm really curious, especially to know what game you're in, because that's always wild. So I've just been doing a lot of work on. I work as a artist actually, so I've just been kind of sitting in and doing a lot of that work. You can see a lot of my work at Dice SMS, which is my Twitter handle as well. I also tweet a lot of game stuff, so I'm actually, not to brag, a lot of fun to follow. But I've also
Yeah, you
been
are.
doing a lot of work for RPG fans, so all the posts that you've seen are by me. But
Like
we've
the
also
amazing Final
opened up
Fantasy
our
stuff.
yeah, yeah. But we've also opened up our Instagram, so RPGFan.com on Instagram. Check it out. I've been uploading a lot of really, really, really cool pictures. Some that you've seen, highlights, and probably some stuff that you've never seen, or in cool videos and stupid memes, of course.
Yeah, she's been cultivating a lot of cool art. Just like recently, well, on the last episode of the podcast, we mentioned how it was Breath of Fire's 18th anniversary, Breath of Fire 4's, and
Yeah.
Steph was posting really cool art from that, and then BOF3. So I've actually not.
I can't even tell you how little of that I actually had to go hunt for. Like a lot of that's just sitting on my hard drive. I just
Oh,
have
really?
these giant images of everything.
Oh, that's awesome.
Reference material.
I was going to say, I haven't even seen a lot of those pieces of art before, so it's like kind of cool to rediscover something that I thought I was acquainted with, but I guess I wasn't fully acquainted with.
I feel like an actual art curator for once in my life. Thank you,
Hell
art
yeah.
history degree for once.
Yeah, and also I think I've said it before, but I host another podcast called Astral Era. It's a Final Fantasy 14 podcast, and Steph designed our logo and artwork, and it is so
it is really nice.
It's so good. Like, I mean, obviously tooting our own horns here a little bit, but Steph does amazing work, and you should hire her.
Yeah, didn't you do all the Persona 5 icons that a lot of the RPG fan folk have too?
Yep.
Maybe.
That was you.
Yeah, that was me.
And who did Steven's time mage thing?
Yeah, I know. I
Is
just
that
get
you
passed
too?
around to do art for a bunch of y'all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that was
was
me.
like, I want a Final Fantasy Tactics avatar. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to do one sometime. It sounds like fun. They're so much fun to do. It's such an easy art style because you don't have to do noses.
True. Yeah.
That's like half the battle right there.
You should get into drawing Fire Emblem characters so you don't have to do feet.
What is
Makes
that?
them look
Explain
weirdly,
yourself.
weirdly cuter.
In Fire Emblem Awakening, the character models don't have feet; they're like little pegs. And
Oh,
there was a
jeepers.
big thing for a while. People were like, "Oh, I guess the Fire Emblem universe, nobody has feet." And I think it must have been not Awakening, Fates, where the main character Corrin is like barefoot as part of the costume. People were like, "Oh my god, feet!"
No, I think it was originally like they didn't know how much memory the 3D has to work with, so they just thought feet were like a good part to cut away.
Mm,
So they went no feet, but did they actually bring them back for Fates?
yeah, they have feet.
That's so cool.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's proof of evolution, guys. It works.
Which reminds me, I've actually just geeky, but I was just like warming up some art and I was drawing Aegis. It's really weird to draw her peg leg.
Yeah, she does have a peg
She's
leg.
got those fun peg legs, yeah.
I love Aegis. What a good character. Like, every time I see one of those videos for Persona 3 and 5 dancing, well, I guess in this case 3 dancing, I get all excited because I'm just excited to see her again. And then they also brought back even Labrys and stuff.
I've been totally geeking about the Persona 3 opening, Persona 3 dancing opening. It's so
Oh, it's
good.
So good. So
The way
good.
it's animated is one thing, but the song, like, having Lotus Juice back was great. And it's like no mass destruction near at the end.
Yep.
They make a lot of weird little shots at the game, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I think that one's even better than the P5 intro, honestly.
Absolutely, honestly, I've
so
thoroughly
good.
listened to both like 20 times.
Yeah, me too. And also those come out in Japan this month, so we can probably look forward to like a soundtrack release pretty soon. Because they haven't officially announced them for US release yet, but like no doubt they're going to. So Steph,
Yeah.
you were actually saying, wasn't somebody asking on the RPG fan Facebook page or something about P5 dancing and then P3 and P5 dancing, and you were like, well, the E3 badge inserts the last few years were Persona, so.
Yeah, they seem to be that. So I just wonder if they're gonna, if Atlas has kind of some good reign over that again this year, and I don't know, maybe they'll.
I could
announce
easily
it.
see dancing on one side, Persona Q2 on the other.
Q2 was officially announced, right?
Yeah, that was.
Okay, I just kind of assumed it was a thing for so long. I was just like, yeah, it's probably gonna happen. That I never really bothered to look into it when they finally announced it.
Yeah, it's got a teaser website and nothing else.
I do want them to do like a revamp of Persona 5, like the Crimson version or some junk.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah,
because how do you have a gang of people go to like? And I've been watching Scott play Persona 4 Golden, which has just been so much fun. They get along so well. They got good chemistry and everything. And then Persona 5, where they go to Hawaii and have a bad time
yeah.
in Persona 5.
That Hawaii trip is such a bummer. It felt like such a wasted opportunity.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. So there's like a few parts of Persona 5 that I would not mind seeing a fancy pants version redo of.
I agree. Kind of like how 4 added the winter stuff for Golden.
That's like a
Pretty good.
full month extra of stuff they had, right?
Yeah, they really went all out on that one.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, cool. Steph, I'm really glad that you're continuing to get work because you're awesome. So my point stands that y'all should hire her. And then on my end, so since I get to be indulgent and talk about myself, things are going pretty cool with me too. I just wrapped up. I have had a part-time job tutoring writing at my local college that I had been doing for a little while, like at this point, a little over a year. I did it in the past as well, but like I was doing that while I was doing my other work, freelance, part-time. But I just wrapped up that job because it's over, and I am getting ready in less than 2 weeks. I am moving to Chicago from Arizona, which is very exciting. and it's going to be my first time moving. It's going to be my first time living outside of Arizona ever. I've lived in Tucson my whole life, so that's a big deal. And then I also recently landed a new localization project. So that's really cool. And I'll be working on that game starting next week, actually. So I can't share any details about it, but it's a game and it definitely exists, I promise. Maybe you'll get to play that soon. And then in the meantime, we can talk about the games that are already out and that we're enjoying.
That's true.
Yeah, a few episodes ago, I think it was like episode 141 or so, I talked about the Alliance Alive, which is the 3DS RPG that has a lot of input from staff from like Suikoden. I think it was the scenario writer, he was on there. And
you can kind of tell too. I always you can kind of see a lot of their inspirations on their sleeve for Legend of Legacy and the Alliance Alive.
Yeah. So I know that I kind of went into what I thought about the game, but Steph is here and she's been playing the game quite a bit too, and I wanted to get her thoughts on it. So, like, I don't know, I guess what are your overall impressions, or is there anything in specific that you were really struck by in the game?
Straight up, I loved it. I don't know why. I think it's just something that I was really looking for right now. I've been kind of breezing through games, so I kind of liked sitting down and getting really frustrated with Alliance Live. It's got some really interesting difficulty curves. I think a lot of old school RPG fans will like it. It essentially plays like one of the like a Sega game. Looks, feels. It's even got music from Hamauzu, right? Yeah, but so. There's like a lot of there's a high punishing difficulty. One thing I like is it seems to balance out a lot of its gameplay mechanics with enough that's meant to kind of help you out just as much. You really have to get into the meat of the gameplay to really come out alive in this one. It's a high risk, high reward battle system, and I actually really came to appreciate that.
It is. Did you beat it? Because I want to ask about it. Okay. Did you? What did you think about the castle sequence in the middle of the game?
Oh, I don't know.
Because I thought that was like infuriating. Because when you say difficulty spikes, that was one of the times where I just felt like it was a brick wall.
I did hear about it, so I actually grinded a lot before it, so I wasn't too bad about it. I got the bonus character that you can get. I will say that I think the game mascot Robbins, it's a cute little warrior penguin, is probably the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life.
He's introduced so late, though.
So cute. Robbins?
Yeah.
Not worse than Shiki or Matilda, I guess. Yeah, but I didn't really end up using a lot of the new, like, too little too late kind of stuff. And since most of the characters kind of play a bit the same, you can kind of rule out if you redundant characters.
That's fair.
So I didn't really care much for the castle sequence, if for anything, because the castle is designed as a pain in the ass intentionally.
Yeah, right.
It's really pretty, but it's just such a pain in the butt to get around.
Like 7 floors with item shops on each side.
Yeah, but I did like the world design. Otherwise, I thought exploring, like, I don't know. I think it's always fun when Japan likes to do a lot of these kind of themed environments. They tend to have a lot of fun with it. I thought, so what it is the game takes place across like 4 or 5 different major realms, like the Burning Realm, the Rain Realm, the Caged Realm, and the Crystal Realm, I think. Oh yeah, and the Frozen one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was really fun to actually explore those. When you get you get like an advanced flying machine, and that is probably just the most fun I've ever had exploring a world map of its weird secrets. And because again, it's like a Saga game, sometimes you'll explore a weird place that comes up that you don't even have to visit, and it'll just utterly kick your ass, and it's wonderful.
Oh yeah, that's very Saga. I think before Alliance Alive, it had been a little while since I played an RPG of like with a world map designed that way, sort of with that scale or with that level of
it's weird, right? It's
stuff tucked away. Yeah. I mean, like,
but I
Ni no Kuni 2 has a map that has a lot of stuff tucked away in little corners, but it's not quite as dangerous. So, like, Alliance Alive's world map feels like if you go exploring further out, like especially if you go into the Dark Current and there are the water devils that chase you, and those will just
surprisingly interactive. That's what I liked about it.
Yeah, they'll whip your ass.
Oh god, yeah, the water devil dens are absolutely frightening.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I like too is the game has a lot of plot. It doesn't say it all. It doesn't write it on its sleeve, but I mean, you can kind of get the idea that there's a lot of plot here. Mm-hmm. There's a bit of diminishing results at the end when you feel there's a lot of unexplained stuff, but I think the game does a good job about, explaining a story without using too many words, unlike certain games like, Persona 5.
Yeah. Well, then there are some games that just like speak endlessly but say nothing, like example of that is some of the recent Paper Mario games I feel like are full of dialogue that says nothing.
Yeah, it's just kind of turgid. It just kind of like, and it's amusing, but it's
good word. Yeah.
it doesn't get as fun. Thousand-Year-Old Door and Mario RPG are probably my favorites in the series.
Yeah, those were so good, and then it feels like recent ones have kind of slipped a bit.
What happened? We want to love it. We really do, because it's really cute in concept. I do want to try the what is it? The remake of the Game Boy Advance one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
Is it Superstar
Saga?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about that, and of course, Peter Triesenberg is always encouraging it.
Right. I may have to come up for my daughter for her birthday.
Hey, yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah, she's pretty intrigued by it.
Have you gotten her into gaming, actually? Have you slowly gotten her into geeky things?
That's why he's here.
Right?
I mean, not the only reason.
No, well, when Annette and I met, she had been married. So her and her partner are both big gamers. They had played WoW and all that sort of stuff over the years. So Gwen was already quite inundated with it. Was already like navigating an iPad at 3 years old with no issue, which is baffling.
I was like the VCR when I was a kid, so I totally get it.
Oh, my parents made me like a little cheat sheet with like color coded to tell me, because I couldn't before I could read, just like this big green thing means this is the play button. Anyhow, it's amazing how kids pick that stuff up. So she's been into gaming for a while, but we got her a 3DS last year, and she's been eating it up whenever she can play things, and loves the heck out of Miitopia.
Oh yeah.
Blah blah blah. And she still plays, like, she loves Overwatch and plays a bunch of stuff at her dad's. She's been playing Monster Hunter World a little bit over there too. So she's quite savvy for a 7-year-old for sure. But we did Super Mario RPG last summer together.
I think her and I would totally get along, because I was basically doing the exact same thing at her age. Like my brother was the one who got me really into gaming, and so I've basically been doing it since I can walk.
Yeah, it's basically the same it seems to be for her. And so we, like I said, the obvious segue was Mario RPG. So yeah, that'll work for her too. And we're going through Paper Mario right now, just like the regular, the 64 one.
Oh yeah.
Because I never played it either, so it's really interesting to see. Because I did Thousand Year Door, and it's nice to see like the roots were there, and they definitely kind of mastered it for Thousand Year Door, and it is an unfortunate byproduct that it's gotten kind of watered down over the years.
Yeah, I would like to see if they would ever re-release that. Like, I think Nintendo knows it has a lineup of a lot of classics, and it seems to be pretty happy about porting it. And I just wish they weren't so stringent on their releasing on PC, because that would be amazing.
I feel like Nintendo is gonna continue to stick to their guns on that. They did branch out with their smartphone stuff, but that's kind of as far as they've gone. I wonder if we'll ever see the day where Nintendo becomes a publisher of games only, like a software publisher like Sega did.
Yeah.
I don't know, because they seem to be enjoying pushing the envelope on their consoles and trying a lot of new exciting things to encourage play, which is, it's always interesting to see that Nintendo is still kind of like a toy company first in some ways.
That much I agree with. That's actually a really good perspective on that. Yeah, because they always, I do hope they can kind of figure out the the stupid headphone thing that they have going on for chat. Oh, do you guys have you not seen that?
Like how you have to plug something into your smartphone,
into your phone, and then into the actual device itself, and it's just a mess of cables, and then also a headset. So you got like cables going about 3 ways.
That sounds baffling.
Yeah, it's an absolute disaster. For every 2 times they seem to hit a home run, they seem to strike out completely on another idea.
Yeah, I wonder if
seems
that's
like
just
Labo doesn't seem to be getting as much attention as people thought.
I wonder. Yeah, I don't really know, because I feel like Labo it's oriented at, again, like basically kids or creatives, and I don't think the average sort of mainstream gamer fits into that demographic quite as much. So like, you have a lot of people who are buying Labo for their kids and stuff, but they're not the people who are on forums like debating the merits of whether or not this Labo is good or that one's better, or like, this playset is too limited because blah blah blah. I think the idea is that parents are buying them for their kids, and they're just kind of like enjoying and playing, and maybe we're not hearing as much about it. I'm not trying to excuse if it's doing poorly, it's doing poorly, but I
think
know
in Japan it did not sell through much of its stock, I heard, or something like that.
Luckily, it's all recyclable since it's
good. Yeah,
cardboard.
Yeah. I was gonna say, because I feel like
just throw it away.
Yeah, there's an affinity.
People probably have those stupid Wii balance boards still.
Oh yeah,
we do.
Yeah, me too.
When I worked at GameStop, we had so many of those clogging up the back room. It was disgusting. the amount of wasted plastic and stuff.
It's unfortunate,
It's so
and there's a use for them, but and that's it's again where Nintendo tries to push its boundaries and try and find new exciting ways to engage its audience, and obviously sometimes it does fall short a bit, and then we end up with
The Wii in general just had like a landfill of just like random titles nobody ever cared about.
Oh yeah,
and
shovelware.
peripherals, and how many people have bongos
shovelware.
just sitting around, right?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not gonna sit here and take this abuse being heaped on my favorite game, 101 Carnival Games for the Wii.
Oh god, I worked at GameStop when that came out, and they've had this stupid Cotton Eye Joe song playing. Yeah, murder me. Just shoot me in the face. It's like, I don't even know the lyrics. I don't want to know.
No, I don't want to think about that song.
My IQ goes down when I hear it.
Now every person listening to the podcast
effect.
hates us. It's officially stuck in their head.
Rumor has it if you leave it on for somebody for 24 hours, they'll be left drooling at the end of the night.
Yeah, they will go insane.
But
so Lions alive.
Oh yeah. Really cool cast of characters in that one too. I ended up liking just about everybody, and the music. One thing I like about Hamauzu is that he likes to do more ambient stuff sometimes. Yeah, kind of more trancey and ambient stuff every so often. He doesn't neglect the kind of violins and kind of more rockin' tracks that you'd get for a video game, of course. But like a lot of his mood pieces in that game are really good.
And
like, I really like the Burning Realm. Sorry,
are they ambient in like in a meaningful way? Because sometimes ambience can just become like background noise, and you almost kind of discount it. It doesn't really stand out to you.
And that's the thing I was thinking about this is that I actually thought like here's my hot take of the podcast is Uematsu stuff was probably the weakest for FF10. I actually liked.
I think Uematsu's overrated as a composer for Final Fantasy. I don't think he's the best composer Final Fantasy's ever had. And I think he's done a lot of amazing stuff. Don't get me wrong.
And to be fair, they do have a high bar for those games that they tend to meet.
Right.
A lot of the music in those games are really good. But yeah, always giving credit to Uematsu discounts a lot of the great stuff. A lot of the other people who have worked for that series have done.
I think so too.
He laid some great groundwork that probably inspired a lot of them to want to match that, and if not, supersede it. But they can probably all attribute a lot of their inspiration to what the foundation he laid for the series.
Absolutely. Right? And no doubt Uematsu's done a ton of classics. I went to go see Dear Friends, and I'd probably go see it again in a heartbeat, but it's been done, and I'm always happy to hear new sounds from different composers.
I don't question Uematsu's talent, but I question his taste sometimes, because like his cover band or independent band Earthbound Papas, a lot of it's just kind of like forgettable prog rock to me, and I don't really think that it's exciting or fun. And I wonder how much of his work is the result of like particular guidance from other creatives in the Square Enix studio whenever he was working on stuff. But I mean, I don't mean to like badmouth him, because the guy's a legend. It's just every time I've tried to look into getting Uematsu's independent, like non-Final Fantasy stuff, or anytime he's contributed to another game, like I remember he did the opening theme for Unchained Blades, the PSP dungeon crawler game.
Yeah.
And I was like pretty underwhelmed by that. So
there's a few of those. Didn't he do some stuff for what was it, Last Story? Is it?
Yes.
I think he did, yeah.
Yeah, and like same with that, I was just kind of left with a big
it was all right.
There's like 4 tracks from it that I still listen to, and that's about it.
Oh, I think I just heard a door closing. I think that's like half our subscribers leaving.
Oh, bye everybody.
No, you know what though? To this day, though, like FF7, 8, and 9 are still soundtracks I will listen to ad nauseum.
Oh, they're amazing.
I'm not even trying to diss. And like when you were saying like about certain comfort zones or something, I was like, wait a minute, the Magitech facility exists, and I love that song.
Yeah, he has a lot of really iconic work. So again, not to discount him, it's just
and Lost Odyssey.
Yeah,
which was
when you've got that much
prolific,
when you're that prolific, you're still bound to strike out now and again, or have some stuff that's subpar. But even I'm sure if we really want to compare his subpar stuff to some other work out there, it's probably still quite solid.
He's probably the one of few mainstream ones that you can talk about. So I mean, we're not bashing him because we hate him. I think we're bashing because he can take it. I mean, he's still so mainstream. But I mean, I love highlighting a lot of the other composers, especially since we haven't really been doing an actual music encounter lately. So
oh, so sad.
Yeah, that is something that can overshadow it, for sure.
Yeah.
But soundtrack is great. I actually think that I played the Burning Realms music at the end of the episode where I talked about Alliance Alive.
Did you? I love that one because it
Yeah.
sounds kind of happy. Like it sounds really warm, and I love when hot tracks sound like they take place in a warm place.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I mean, there's
that's
like
weird.
a literal volcano in the Burning Realm, so yeah.
Yeah.
It's hot.
But like I was thinking about this when I was listening to some Tales music, where like the desert town has like either a very upbeat, like kind of flamenco kind of sound to it because it's kind of funny, or sometimes it has a very slow beat because it sounds very hot and lazy.
Yeah.
So I just think
Everybody's
it's really
tired.
cool when and everyone's tired. So I think it's cool when you can actually get those kind of moods across. And Alliance Lives does that with its unique realms. Oh, okay, sorry. I'm so sorry. Another thing I want to brag about is Overworld, the battle theme doesn't change, so it just lets you hear the music.
Which is
I feel
nice.
a lot of games could take a point on that. Like, I know Xenoblades, because they have such great overworld music, people don't want to always hear the battle theme.
It'd be nice to toggle it or something, like to have an option that says use battle music or just keep playing background. That'd be cool.
Yeah, or like, in Xenoblade X when you're flying around and you get to hear that song every time.
So ridiculous. That soundtrack is so divisive. I think it's fun, but it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite. Like there are some.
It's not my
tracks on it I
favorite.
just
It's
can't listen to.
perfect.
Yeah, great.
We
What is it?
got to sit and talk about this and iron out our feelings.
Yeah, and then apparently box once we're done. It's not even Boxing Day. Haha, Canada joke. So you'd say, like, you enjoyed the game overall. You beat it. Fun cast, good music. Just what you needed, huh?
Fun cast, good music. Yeah, that's what it is. I think it's just a game that came in at the right place, right time. If you're a player who's looking for a bit of a challenge, charming characters, and who doesn't mind taking a bit of punishment in order to get that achievement, then it's totally worth it. It's one of those games where like even a stat like +1 counts a ton.
It does, yeah.
And I've always appreciated that. Yeah.
Yep.
And there's no traditional level system, so it's always fine to find games that like to go around that.
It's not always successful, but it is indeed different. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I totally recommend it.
Good. Yeah, I enjoyed it as well, so I'm glad to hear that you had similar feelings. And speaking of game wrap-ups, Greg wanted to dish a little bit more about his sort of subsequent and final experiences with the Swords of Ditto now that he has finished the game and has reviewed it for RPG Fan.
I did, because last time we talked, I hadn't quite wrapped it up yet and kind of figured out the whole gimmick to get around it all. It as you and I were talking about it, Derek, we definitely were coming across quite lukewarm in a lot of ways. As I'm sure
I still am, but that's fine. Go ahead.
And that's fair.
Wait,
I
what game is
found
this?
the Swords of Ditto from Devolver Digital and the two-person team One Bit Beyond, which I didn't quite realize One Bit Beyond was just two dudes working on a game, and so I find that's really impressive for the title they've put out with how creative it is and how artistic it is. But that all being said, I found it's for lack of a better reference, it's like a fine wine. The longer it lingers, the better it is in a lot of ways. It just takes time to kind of get into and figure out its systems, and I think if you've got the patience for it, it really pays off eventually. But I can completely understand where those frustrations lie, as I voiced in my review. But I really found the more I kept playing it and the more I started understanding the world and the systems and how they all can be mastered, I found the game incredibly satisfying.
Okay.
I could probably make it's akin to me with my experience in Final Fantasy VIII, actually, because the first time I tried it, I bounced off that game hard and did not really enjoy it whatsoever, as most people out there still don't.
I'm actually really looking forward to doing a replay of that one day.
Yeah,
because I think I feel as you felt right now. I'm just kind of like, so that was weird.
Exactly. And then I went back to it a few years ago, and I just took the time to actually understand how the systems work in that game. And once you know how to manipulate it and understand it, you feel really powerful and feel quite intelligent for figuring it out and mastering it. And it's very satisfying.
I like that because I feel there's a lot of misunderstood RPGs on that front where it's like, some of them you really do have to take your time to figure out the systems in order to get the most out of it. And sometimes it's not always easy.
No, and especially when we live in an era where so much of it is handed to us, the explanations and whatnot. I do appreciate, especially in the Swords of Ditto, it's got a very show don't tell mentality for a lot of things. But as again, Derek and I discussed a little bit, it would have been nice if there was an option to at least kind of go and track down how to learn more about these intricate systems.
Right, yeah, like more in-game explanation.
Yeah, like they don't need to have a tutorial for every little simple thing because that would just be obnoxious and like every other game out there. But at least if they just had like I could walk over here and look in my library and learn more about these things, a la say Harvest Moon. You can figure it out through trial and error, or you can go read about it ad nauseum to figure out how to plant all your crops, this, that, whatever.
I really do like the difference between Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild for that on that level, like where, hand holding at its worst versus hand holding probably at most of its best.
But Master, how are you supposed to know if your batteries are low or not?
Oh god, why?
Try swinging your sword to defeat the enemy.
I think that like warning comes in when your battery is only like half dead too. So I mean, like there's still a ton of juice in it, and it's so obnoxious.
I want to hope that was a glitch.
Zelda assumes that like you can probably figure this out. It shouldn't be that hard to figure out if you press this button what'll happen. You don't need to tell people that.
Exactly, and most games can take that far too great a degree to go into explanation on.
There's definitely mileage definitely varies on that from title to title, I think.
At any rate, all that being said, Swords of Ditto, solid game in the end.
Did you do co-op for it?
I did a little bit with Gwen. I have yet to do it with Annette, but Gwen and I did have a good time. She also played with her dad when he came over, looked after one night for us, and they had a good time with it as well. It's just It's very easy to jump into, and that's where the game lies. It's easy to jump into. It's easy to digest. It's definitely hard to master in some regards. Like you just have to have that patience to kind of fully invest in the systems and explore. But once you kind of figure out how to manipulate like time and get good stickers to upgrade your character and such, it really starts to hum and you feel good about what you're doing.
Which is still a little surprising considering how sort of approachable its art style is, because it seems like it wants to be the kind of game that
so cute.
A kid could just jump into, but that, like Greg said, there is quite a lot that you have to dig into. Yeah.
No, yeah, because I've been looking for a ton of co-op games, for a ton of co-op stuff these days. So I mean, the more games that have that, the better.
This is a good one for it, and it is strictly couch co-op. There's no online for it, so if that's
awesome.
Makes or break it for you, that's fair. Like, I mean, part of me would love to play it with like Derek online, but I would much rather play.
Good luck getting me to play that. Yeah.
But it's super fun just to pick up with a friend and just be like, hey, you know how to play with Legend of Zelda, right? Cool. Just swing and hit things, and I'll coach you through the rest.
Yeah, so. I mean, on that level, it is easy to figure out, but once you have to go beneath the surface to all of the various complex systems that it kind of starts to get overwhelming. But
it can be, exactly. And then once you've done it enough, then you kind of get it going. But yeah, it just takes a while to get there. So I still think they've done good work, and
and then you can look forward to
looking at RPGs like at the beginning and the end of a file. Like at the beginning, it's like you basically just do attacks for like single-digit damage, and at the end, when you're dishing out about 20 different skills, multiple attacks, stacking status ailments and all that stuff.
Yeah,
like,
you become a god.
It gets good. And I feel bad that sometimes games have a real become a god. But I feel bad that some of these games do have a long time before you can kind of really, really bite into the best parts of its content.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of people chastise Final Fantasy 13 for it to finally open up in its like 11th hour chapter.
Right.
It's been the RPG model for years. Just as like D&D's always done that thing too, right? At level 1 you're probably going to be a wizard who's going to die at the hands of a rabbit, but a level 9 wizard and then a level 19 wizard are going to be like ending worlds. So it's always that slow burn of like slowly releasing new skills to you so you can slowly acquire the talents and understanding to manipulate them, I guess. Because if they threw everything at the entire cast of characters and all their abilities at you in Xenoblade Chronicles, for example, I would have been like, what? No, brain just would have shut down.
Yeah, well, you need time to wean onto a game's systems, which little sidebar, something that I've actually experienced difficulty with that in the last couple of days, because I started playing Path of Exile a little bit with a couple of my friends.
Right.
Right now there's like my online game of choice is Final Fantasy 14, of course, but there's kind of a content drought, but not for much longer, as we'll discuss later in the podcast. But so Path of Exile my friend recommended it because he was really into it, and it's like a Diablo clone, basically, if you want to be really simplistic in the comparison.
I think you got the sphere health.
Yeah, well, exactly. So like you've got little flasks for your health and everything, but the idea with Path of Exile, and we talked about this many, many moons ago on the podcast. Steven was playing it and really, really enjoyed it, and I think Rob bounced off of it because he's Rob. But I've been playing it, and it's got basically like Final Fantasy X's sphere grid as the character customization system, and there's
that's cool.
a ridiculous amount of skills to choose from. You start as one of 6 base classes, and the classes are basically just like tied to an attribute and then where they start on the sphere grid. And there's like 1,300 plus nodes on it, each of which gives you either, I mean, most of them give you just like a stat upgrade or increase, but some of them do things like fundamentally change how the class is played, giving you things like, okay, your character can no longer dodge attacks, but they can no longer be hit with criticals and stuff like that. So
I like those kind of balance offs though when it comes to skills and equipment.
So the game is like
the skill tree. It's insane.
It's ridiculous.
It looks like a Christmas sweater.
It's so intricate. And so the point that I was going to get to is like, I appreciate that flexibility in the game design, but oh my God, it is too much for me. I cannot process it. Like there's something I realized that I seem to have this problem whenever it comes to like learning new tabletop games, playing deck building games or TCGs, or for some reason, a bunch of Western RPG systems. Like my brain just doesn't seem to compute it correctly. Like I get overwhelmed really quickly if I'm presented with too many options at once, and I tend to kind of shut down. Like when I was playing this the other night, we played it for a few hours, and I was listening really hard and trying to absorb all the information. And my friend was like, okay, you picked the Shadow class, so you should probably take this, and then build towards this. And I lost my ability to process. And it got to the point where we were playing and I was just like sleepy because my brain was so tired from trying to take it all in. I don't know what it is. So when a game does that, and when a game does that, like I appreciate that is absolutely oriented towards a specific type of player. And I love how open games like Path of Exile are. But for me, like I apparently just can't do it. And I mean, I could put a lot of effort into it, but it stops being fun to me at that point because I'm just so overwhelmed by choice.
I feel like I only have room for like one game to do that for me, or like one series that I'm willing to kind of take on that burden of information for.
Learn that.
I think I was mentioning before the show, like I've been playing a lot of Xenoblade lately, and for those games, there's quite a lot to take in for a few of them. And it's like the only series that I'll kind of let it for. Xenoblade X has a pretty commanding amount of gameplay systems and stats to throw at you. I don't really blame anybody if they get kind of tuned out by that, and I'm really happy that its main game is kind of okay for you to kind of disregard it.
Yeah.
But basically all the post content, I mean, to get the most out of a game, to get your 100% and all that stuff, you really got to sit down with it. You got to read the forums, you got to look at the documents and all that stuff for stats, and all that jazz.
Well, I was going to ask you, Derek, if this stems from I remember you talking about on the podcast with Final Fantasy 12 once its remake came out, and how you were somewhat paralyzed in your decisions for what classes to kind of commit to. You're worried about committing to the wrong path, or?
Yeah, well, I think there's two elements there for me. One, I do worry about when I make a decision in a game that I have to commit to that I can't ever undo, because the first time you play a game, like you might not know what your style is, what's best, what you want to do. So if there is no flexibility, I'm like, oop, I picked the wrong class. And like if I have to pick a class and then I can like reset that character and start over, that's fine. But if it's a game where it's like you're locked into that class and the only thing you can do is start a new save file, then that really stresses me the hell out. So
is that an investment over time kind of thing that is a struggle now that you're an adult, or is it something where as you were a kid when you had more time and can maybe start over?
I wonder, because I can be pretty decisive in general. Like, if you have groups of friends who do the whole like, where should we go out to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go? I'll make the decision. I don't give a damn. I'll tell you where we're going.
I don't want that.
Yeah, but
going
like
to Chili's.
So I can be decisive, but when it comes to games, I guess it's like, I don't know. I guess because it's something I'm doing for leisure and I don't want to feel like I'm making a bad choice that I can never undo. It's just, I don't know. It just kind of paralyzes me. But
because games are a pretty long thing. I mean, we're I feel like we deal with a different set of obstacles when we like RPGs because they are so long, because they are a commitment.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually appreciate when, the good old gaming collective comes together and makes like FAQs for games, or, just like topics.
Like, please help me.
Yeah,
Sort
So,
this
yeah.
out for me so I don't have to step in the pitfalls.
yeah, for
like for Mines
real.
Alive, I knew about the snow sections, so I made sure to grind like mad, and it was still pretty hard.
Yeah, I'm
The
glad that
final,
you
the
got to
boss
find
that you
that
face
out.
at the end of that is just like I was like reformatting my group for like 2 hours just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it's rough. So I do appreciate when there are people willing to do the kind of meta stuff and help suss that all out for you. But I think I was going to say the second element of the Final Fantasy 12 thing is I would actually say I vastly prefer the Zodiac job system to the original version of Final Fantasy 12 because
I gotta get back into that game. I completely lost track of it, but yeah, please tell me because I didn't like Final Fantasy 12 the first time I came out. So please elaborate on what you.
right,
I'm
well,
sorry.
I didn't love 12. Like I felt let down in some ways by 12. It wasn't anything to do with like art or music, but when 12 came out, I think we probably discussed this before, but oh well. The things that I didn't like about it originally were I felt like the characters lacked depth. At least some of them did. Some of them were fine, like Ash and Balthier and Bosch were all fine, but you know, Fran doesn't really do much. Vaughn and Penelo don't do much. So anyway, I felt like a lot of characters were lacking depth, and I felt like everybody was the same in terms of battle. Like yes, when you get down to it, there are differences in terms of like some characters have different animation speeds for different weapons, so you can kind of really get into the meta with that.
Yeah.
Like, well, the whole thing was like Balthier is by default a gun user, and he has the slowest gun animation in the game.
Oh yeah, that's right. You talked about this before.
Oh,
Yeah.
I guess they made it flashy for him because I don't know.
I
cool with that?
guess, but like, so it's suboptimal to have him use a gun because other people are faster at it. So
I hate
there
that kind
is
of weird irony like that.
yeah, that is weird.
And
So
it's
there,
interesting in a Final Fantasy game that is a factor now, considering how the active time system used to work, where it was just charge time and boom, they did their attack. But now
Right.
animation factors in. That's bizarre.
exactly. So with the original Final Fantasy 12, you were given, you know, immediately every character has access to the same license board. And so you kind of have to like on your own decide what type of character you want to build and build towards it without like with your own self-imposed structure. Whereas in Zodiac Age, the game, you know, has all of these rigid sort of job paths, quote unquote, where you can go down each of them. And it's like, I know what I'm getting. When I choose to make, you know, Fran a Bushido, I know what I'm going to get because it told me what a Bushido does. So, so I'm more comfortable making that decision than I would be like saying, like if the game said you have 50 skill points per character and you can never undo any of them, go.
Yeah.
Like that would stress me out way more than having to pick a job because at least when I pick the job, like I may not want to be locked into it, but at least I know what it was. And then the Zodiac job system lets you pick 2 jobs per character, which I think like totally sort of bypasses that issue for me because there are 12 jobs. So if every character picks 2, you could theoretically have, you know, access to every single job's abilities, maybe not in the right combinations for like the most optimized run, but you don't lose access to any ability or whatever.
You can dabble.
So, right. I could dabble. I'm a dabbler.
Yeah.
So I like to
and it
dabble.
sounds like the same issue a lot of people have with like Skyrim that also have with the original Final Fantasy 12 with the option of having too much freedom in their character design. Like I have no problem being the kind of person's like, this guy's going to be an archer. I'm going to build him on that path and I'm going to role play as him. It would make no sense for him to be a thief. So I'm not just going to steal stuff. Whereas people just like, I have to max out everything.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing at 12. Like I had specific character roles for each one. So I had no issue with that mechanic, but I can see how some folks just have that completionist need to check every skill box, so to speak, and it can get very overwhelming.
Yeah,
for them.
I just like
I found out I made
direction.
like I made a bit of a brain dead decision when I started the job stuff in Final Fantasy 12, and I was like, ah, crap.
Yeah, I mean,
so far in, you know.
Right. I just want enough structure to make an informed decision about how I want to build a character or where I want to go in a world or whatever. And then I can take it from
RPGs are
there.
not something you really want to make permanent decisions on, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Standing permanent decisions on it. Yeah.
I guess I'm just really flighty and kind of like mercurial when it comes to
No,
game.
I get it. I
stuff,
totally do my research. Like when I'm playing a game, I definitely do my character research. Like best setups and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
like,
this
I did it for
character
Alliance
is a
Alive
mage.
as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is another like a sidebar to a sidebar. So my boyfriend has been playing The Legend of Dragoon on his Vita recently.
Yeah,
I gotta play that game.
It's been fun to watch him revisit it because like The Legend of Dragoon is pretty hokey, you guys. It came out
just a little bit.
Yeah, it was trying really hard to be the FF7 clone, and I loved it.
So under the radar too.
I think it was Neil who pointed out the funniest thing in Rose's animations.
What was it?
They're just kind of weirdly graphic.
Oh, okay.
Like at one point, she does some sort of special attack, and you see some black sludge come out of like her bottom.
Oh,
I
weird.
know, it's just so
I just
odd.
love the battle shouts for all the additions. More and more.
Oh.
Volcano.
Oh yeah.
Wind
I love the
dance.
menu music.
Oh yeah, that like
The
smooth
menu
jazz.
music. Doo-doo.
Yep. But I
It
was
was
gonna say
basically elevator music. It sounds exactly like
It is.
elevator music. Can you please edit in the menu music when you can?
sure. I will.
Thanks.
I was just gonna say I don't know what reminded me, and I'm probably off topic now, but he's been playing that, and so I always hated using Shayna in that game because
Oh,
she's the
yeah.
archer and she doesn't have additions. So her regular attack just always is just boop, one little arrow, and I was like, why would I use her? That's so stupid. I want to do the additions. It turns out, as Jeremy has learned through like researching meta, she's the best user of like magical attack items and stuff. And there are
Oh.
some items that do things like once per battle, you can use it to grant a physical shield to a character for 3 turns, that kind of stuff. So she's actually really good at doing that, and that's not something that I ever would have thought of. Like, I feel like you would have to research outside of the game to know that she's good at that. And then once you know it, you're like, oh, she's totally worth having in your party.
There's I know there's like one spell in Trails in the Sky that gives you complete immunity, and you basically need it for some of the super bossing at the end.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, like same thing. I just love when you are even Alliance Alive. They have like a dedicated shield class. You know, that's totally meant to take the hits like that. And I don't know why. I guess like yeah, if you were to ask me, I would be a tank if if this were to happen. But I've come to appreciate the tank role in recent games.
Yeah.
And those subtle skills can be hard to overlook to see their worth in the grand scheme. Where you're just like, why would I want to play as like just a shield class, or why would I want that one?
Right.
Just show
Why would I
damage
want to
with all
have a
this flashy
character?
stuff?
Exactly. Why would I want to play my character as somebody who's using items out of my inventory every turn instead of like this dude who can turn into a dragoon and do like fire flips and
I
crap?
think you
Like,
seem to
Exactly.
use it really well. Like I guess it's a case by case basis, right? Where if they actually choose to make the defend command actually something kind of
Right.
interesting.
and that brings into the whole idea of like how useful are status ailments in this RPG, because in some games they don't matter and you would never use them ever. Like you would never cast paralyze or silence. And then there's a game like SMT where you live and die by did I
Yeah,
use
by
Taru
that.
Kaja? Did
Yeah.
I like sufficiently exploit their weakness? Did I silence him? Okay, good, I can win. Otherwise
That's what I love
Matador's
about
gonna stomp me
FF12.
into paste.
Because FF12 had the active battles going all the way through, it actually finally made sense to buff yourself just for like those random encounters.
Right.
I literally think
Because
it's how I
your
got
haste
through
to
that
pull through.
Kanari boss fight in Final Fantasy X was just a shitload. Sorry, load of status ailments.
Everyone's just gonna get all these like chocobo, chocobo, chocobo.
Yeah. But I just to go back to your original point, which I've like diverged from twice. Steph was playing Xenoblade, which is how we got into the discussion of all the like complexity of menus and character building and
I
stuff.
love Melia.
Melia?
Yeah, she's fun
Yeah,
with a lot
I
of the
enjoyed her.
stats buffing stuff.
Ah, yes. I see your
I think-
strength is the
yeah.
genuine article.
And again,
I
the
just want to keep going
stats are
on
great
and
for
on
And on.
Oh, which reminds me. Okay, so apparently part of the E3 rumors is they've actually started divulging stuff about DLC for Xenoblade 2.
Okay.
This may or may not come as a surprise. If it's not, here's a fair warning to pause the
Oh, is this a
podcast.
spoiler warning?
Not a big one. It's just one of the rare blades is apparently a cameo, and if you can
Okay.
guess, it's
So
Is it gonna
Yeah.
be Rhine time?
yeah, it's gonna not Rhine time, unfortunately, but it's still a funny line. No, but apparently they found I'm really feeling it in databases.
well, Zeke says that anyway, but yeah.
No,
Oh,
but
does
yeah,
he?
so apparently that's one of the rumors.
When they first announced that way back with the season pass, where they're like, "Oh yes," because originally it was like, "We'll release a rare blade." One was what it said in the first place, and I was like, "Well, if it's only one, it's got to be Shulk, right?"
And they put out what is it? The glasses wearing Tielos in there.
Oh God, yes.
It was a weird mix of fetishes that they're just like.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
Xenoblade is totally aware of what it's doing with that, but
Yeah.
okay.
Let's just get Riki in there as a rare blade.
I would have rather that.
Is he gonna have glasses and huge cleavage too, and like a little bit of ass showing?
I don't know, because like some of the Xenoblade 2 models get
I
really
hope so.
weird looking when they mix the art
hope so, too.
styles. Oh, wait, is are they gonna have Shulk in his tidy whities?
Oh, that
No, Riki doing fan service.
No.
with his big fuzzies. Yeah.
So apparently, allegedly, what the DLC is about, I don't know if you want me to say it. Just like the setting, anyways. Again, I don't feel it's too much of a spoiler if you played the game. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Warning. So apparently, they're going to be talking about all this stuff during the Aegis War. It's actually going to take place in that.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, that's sort of the one area of the story
that Adam and all that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I think that's actually a really good choice because it seems like they don't really want to talk about like the epilogue and all that stuff, and that's fine.
And they shouldn't, because I think it's pretty definitively over.
Yeah. So. Did you see that they added Nia into the opening, into the title screen? Sorry.
No.
Yeah, apparently one of the patches will put so like you know how you get like a different cut in for every chapter that you're in.
Okay.
So they've patched the game, and apparently if you wait like a minute or something like that, Nia joins in.
Oh, that's cool. She deserves it.
She does. I know. She's so cute.
Yeah, well, I thought that was going to be like a fun sort of aspect of like the old like Mario Kart 64, where like if you beat the game in a certain way, then the title screen changes.
I like when they do that.
Me too.
When games do that.
Oh, like I don't think this is a spoiler, so please don't say anything else beyond this. But Final Fantasy 15's title screen changes when you beat it.
Oh yeah, it's true.
I like that actually. Oh wait, the title screen?
Yeah.
Does it have the second logo?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I love that. I thought that was actually really nice.
It's a good touch, yeah. Tied right in with the ending.
I know you guys have already probably talked about the Final Fantasy DLC, so I don't want to do that anymore.
Oh yeah, we're not doing that anymore.
But I'm just like,
we've gone ad nauseum on it.
Like, oh.
Yeah, well, we will talk about Final Fantasy 15 again on the podcast as they either release more information about the DLC or after they've been out and we've played them. But we've kind of exhausted that for now.
Stuff will probably come up from E3, no doubt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing that's usually true is the Square Enix booth is usually tons of fun. They got everything going on. So
they do. It's huge. It's always like just an absolute cacophony and laser light show. Give you a seizure, but it's fun. Also, we got to see, I think it was year before last when they were demoing a bunch of Final Fantasy 14 Heavensward accolades. Like we had RPG Fan, our name was up on the big screen in the mega trailer area. Yeah, it was fun. Plus, we got to hang up all of our little award placards that Mike made last year. I hope we get to do that again this year.
Yeah, those look really great.
The publishers really liked getting those.
Those are so cool. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
just in general, it was actually a lot of fun talking with everybody there. Like, I can't wait to be reporting on that again.
Yeah, me too. And it's only about a month out, guys.
That's my eventual dream to maybe get there as well someday.
Yeah,
but,
please do. It's great. At least you're on the right coast for it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that far off for me to get out to. And I mean, last year I debated crashing it when it was open to the public, but it would be much more fun to be there in an official capacity and be supporting the website. And
you won't get a lot of the stink eye that you get from the rest of the press. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm interested how they're going to mitigate that this year, but we can probably talk about that when we actually do the actual E3 episode.
Yeah,
and we'll talk a little bit about E3 in just a bit, actually, because I want to talk a bit about some of the announcements that have been made regarding schedules and such. But there is one last game that I wanted to mention on the podcast today, separate from E3, etc. It's a game that I've been playing for the last week or so, and I think I've picked it up as my sort of main game of the moment. It's something that I imported back when it released, and I haven't put too much time into it until now, and that is Nayuta no Kiseki. This is the Trails series, so Kiseki Trails series spin-off action RPG. They had the gall
the PSP
to
one, right?
Yeah, it's on PSP. They had the gall to assign it its own genre, which is story action RPG, as if there's never been any other action RPG with a story before this one. So
basically, like they were trying to do like Trails meets Ys in a way.
Yes. So the funny thing about Nayuta no Kiseki is that, first of all, story-wise, it's not really related to any other of the Trails/Kiseki games. I've heard that there are some like vague suggestions to how they might be in the same universe, but this is more or less a standalone thing, and it actually shares more in common with games like Gurumin or Zwei than it does with the Kiseki series. So it's an action RPG.
I guess.
It does, yeah. So it's like an action RPG, but it's not quite as fast as Ys. But it's not slow, but it's definitely more to the tempo of something like Savai than it is to Ys, because Ys is like super lightning fast, whereas Nayuta is a little bit more deliberate. So if the first thing you notice if you look up Nayuta no Kiseki is like the environments are just super colorful. This is probably one of the better looking games on the PSP in terms of just how much they were able to do with the graphical engine. Like it starts out on kind of a tropical island. And a lot of the areas you go through are you go through like ruins and stuff because the main sort of thematic thrust of the game is you're playing as Nayuta, who's this like young astronomer kid, and he was studying at some kind of academy, and he comes back to his home island, which is Remnant Island or Isle of Remnants or whatever. This is the Japanese version. It has never received an English release, but hopefully it will at some point. I would love to see this on Steam, by the way. It would be a perfect fit for Steam. But anyway, Nayuta is like interested in these things that fall from the sky. They're like star pieces or fragments, and each of them is sort of like a little. Think about spheres from Final Fantasy X, how like they're little objects where you can see projected images, but instead of being like recorded movies, as far as I can tell, they're just sort of images. So in the reflected star fragments, you can see like scenery from another world, more or less, and people talk about like what that is. I don't know what they officially call it, like Lost World or something, Lost Heaven. And so Nayuta like believes that it exists and wants to know more about it. So very early in the story, he has an encounter with this little fairy named Noi, who lives or is from Lost Heaven. I think it's called Lost Heaven. I forget. And he gets to go there and explore it. So it's like a whole bunch of these sort of fantastical environments that are interconnected, and he starts exploring and finding more about the mystery of his world. And so I was mentioning the graphics. So each of the main dungeons in Nayuta no Kiseki has 4 seasonal variants. So if you imagine the forest in Secret of Mana that has like the spring with the cherry blossoms, and then the summer where it's all green, and then winter where it's all icy and stuff. So every area and every dungeon in Nayuta no Kiseki, which they're not the longest ever, but they all have the 4 seasonal variants.
Yeah.
That's satisfying.
Yeah, and so
I remember watching a few trailers. Yeah, because they didn't release it here, so I just watched a bit of it on YouTube. And yeah, I remember thinking it looked really, really cool.
Yeah.
I would love to see them release it here, and I have a feeling Xseed would actually pounce on that if it became possible.
Yeah, especially because we don't know right now. The Kiseki or Trails series is kind of up in the air in terms of English releases because we don't know what's happening next.
Yeah.
Like Sen no Kiseki 3 came out in Japan last year, and Sen no Kiseki 4 is gearing up to release in Japan this year, but we just haven't heard anything since Cold Steel 2 re-released on Steam here and stuff. So I would love it if Xseed could also pick up Nayuta no Kiseki and do something with that, because this is just like a really solid action RPG. And I remember hearing from some other folks that the story in Nayuta no Kiseki is like bad, but to me so far, I mean, again, Japanese, my second language, and I'm intermediate, maybe upper intermediate. I feel like it's just sort of predictable more than anything. Like it doesn't come across as bad. The characters are fine so far, but I don't really think that it's setting the world on fire. But like also other Trails games have that thing where you have a lot of characters who seem pretty bland or predictable, and then they really surprise you by having all this unexpected depth, or like maybe they're double agents or whatever. So
or secret princes.
That happens a lot, yeah. With one particular example, yeah. But yeah, so
best example.
He's great, Olivier. So I'm having a really good time playing this. It's like it's breezy, it's really, really colorful, and the soundtrack is so good. I had before the game came out, I remember like furiously checking iTunes for the release of the soundtrack, and I super recommend it. It's on US iTunes right now. It's the Nayuta no Kiseki soundtrack, and it's, I don't know how much it is, probably like $20 or so.
The fact that we have like Zwei 2, or what was it, I forgot the
Arch's Adventure and the Ilvard Insurrection.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've had that game's soundtrack since it actually came out in Japan, like what, almost 10 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little less than that, but yeah, like Falcom tends to really, really kill the soundtrack department.
Yep, and this one is no exception. So highly, highly recommend at the very least going online and looking for the soundtrack to the game. You may find something interesting if for some reason you were to type the words Nayuta Endless Trails into your browser. I don't know what that's all about, but you might find something cool if you did that. Not that I recommend it. And I always, want to support like these companies that are doing amazing work. So I would love it if we got an official English release of Nayuta no Kiseki, or an English release at all on Steam, just because like Steph was saying, since they bothered to do it with games like Zwei, thinking about it, those were on PSP as well, but they were also on PC. So porting those to an English client wasn't really.
I get why you recommended that.
But if we could get an English PC release of that here, that would be so good. Yeah, it's sort of like a fun, breezy action RPG with great music, super colorful backgrounds, and I'm liking it. So at the very least, maybe you could just like import the PSP version. PSPs are region free, and you could just mess around with it. And it's got a lot of text, so it's not the most import friendly game out there. But we're
I'm
done.
raising my
Yes,
hand over here.
yes.
Niuta, what does that mean? Like, what's the English title? I guess it's a better question.
Well, his name is Nayuta, the main character, and
There's
then
Trails of Niuta.
Does
yeah.
the kanji of its name mean anything?
Yeah, I think the kanji are supposed to be like infinite or something like that.
Ooh.
I'd have to look it up because I don't know that combination of kanji. And also like kanji used for names don't necessarily have like a direct meaning all the time.
Okay.
But you can piece together different things like I don't know why I'm thinking of this, but an example I learned recently is I learned the kanji for wisteria, the flower, because it's really commonly used in names like, and it's pronounced Fuji, but like Fujiko is like wisteria child, and it's a common name. So
really?
It's one of those things where like the kanji in Nayuta are indicative of a meaning. Yeah, I just looked it up. It's like an extremely great number, often said to be 100 million. That's what my dictionary says.
Mhm.
So I guess you could probably interpret Nayuta, besides just being a name, as like, a lot, infinite, probably something to do with like the
That works for
possibilities of his world or something.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah.
Right.
That's kanji meanings are always like weird and duplicitous and multiplicitous and stuff. So I'm not like a super expert, but anyway. Yeah, so besides the games that we've been playing right now, there are always announcements coming out about new games and such, but there isn't a ton. Like we're in a little bit of a slow news cycle at the moment, just because E3 is so close, and a lot of these publishers are sort of saving up to shoot everything at once.
Oh gosh.
So
we went there.
We did. So recently, Square Enix announced their showcase for E3. It's set for Monday, June 12th at 10 a.m. PDT. And I thought it might be fun to speculate about what they're going to show. I would say guaranteed they're going to show Kingdom Hearts 3, and I would love it if they'd show Dragon Quest 11.
I think those two are pretty likely. I'd put money on that.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I think they said Bandai Namco's got something fancy geared up as well.
Mm-hmm. And we already have an appointment with them to see whatever it is. So.
Oh, nice. I have a feeling just in the I think it's just good marketing and good faith that they're going to show some FF7 stuff, especially with all the kind of controversial upheaval that's happened lately.
I wonder, yeah.
I feel like they're going to have to show some stuff like Cloud's new design, all that sort of stuff that they've kind of been teasing a little bit, just to say, yes, it's still happening. We're still working on it.
Oh, they changed the design?
Yeah, from what it was
a
in the
big
original
thing.
trailer stuff.
But no, I mean, nobody's seen it yet, but there's stuff going around about how his design is different. And just the idea that the design is different was...
And I don't blame anybody. If
His
that's
hair?
what it is. Yeah.
I think that's for sure going to be shown. I would be shocked if they didn't do that just to placate the masses.
But it's a good point. I mean, it would be, I think, like you said, a sign of good faith and like a show of a genuine desire to keep their fans, happy and like to remind us that they are actually doing this. But I'm just sort of not holding my breath for that. Also, I remember people were talking about what Bandai Namco was going to show actually, and somebody on staff said they would like, oh, I bet they'll announce a new Tales game. And as much as I appreciate that optimism, I would love to be proven wrong, I really do not think that's going to happen.
The only thing I could see if like it's a long if is if they announce Tales of Vesperia, just because it is the game's 10th anniversary. So I just wonder if they would do something like that. It's unlikely because I know the series is way more huge in Japan though.
This is true. Haven't Bandai Namco come out and said every time somebody's asked for Vesperia, they're like, no.
No.
Asking.
No.
From what you've been all telling me about the Tales series, it would seem more likely that it would be a Tokyo Game Show kind of thing.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my guess based on the type of stuff I've seen at E3 in the past. It's not like impossible that they would announce it, but it's unlikely, I think.
The only reason I thought it might is because the amount of, fight and fury about Vesperia.
As much as I like Vesperia, Vesperia is great. I just think people need to
chill.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go.
They just need to port it to to Steam. They should just really put the entire.
Yeah, that would be great. Actually, I would appreciate that.
Although,
Destiny.
If they're going to bother to port Vesperia to Steam, it had better be the PS3 version.
I don't see how it wouldn't be at this point.
Yeah.
The other thing I think Square Enix is going to remind us of is the fact that Final Fantasy 15 universe is still a thing, and they will probably give us some more stuff on the DLCs that they are developing and I don't know, maybe another fishing game.
Ooh.
Prompto
Maybe like,
shooting.
At first I really liked how wide a net they cast, but now I just feel it's really confusing and
I
like they've
agree.
been kind of drawing it out way too long. But
Yeah, I was okay with sort of the original, like, all right, we've got a movie, an anime, and then the game. And that felt okay. But then it just seems to expand further and further and further.
They tried to really scramble for, I think part of it is to cash in on it and to try and do something new again with, trying to branch out to different aspects of its universe, which I appreciate, but
Just a shame.
a
But-
lot of money seems to go into these games these days. I wouldn't be
Oh, yeah.
surprised if they kind of gotta. It's kind of why I'm not really against them releasing like DLC or season passes because it seems to be a product model that works. I don't think
It
they'd be
is.
doing it
I
unless
mean-
they made money. I know that it's infuriating, and we get a lot of pushback from from a lot of our site people that I talk with. But I mean, it's clearly someone's spending money on it.
Yeah, to me, again, I think I've said before, but it depends on the sort of manner of content and then also the way that they are marketing it or like when they're beginning development on it. Because if you're going to sell me a game for $60 and then on the same day release a DLC pack that has some story that's obviously cut from the main narrative, like F
Mhm.
that. I'm not cool with that.
it's
But
case by case basis for sure.
yeah, it is. So well,
I want Prompto Snap. I'm just putting it out.
oh
That'd
yeah,
actually
that'd be
kinda
fun.
cool. Oh my god, I would prefer that so much more to the fishing one. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And then you
Although
go back to Sid and Sid's like, this is great.
And for the DLC, you can get like a gravure model mode where you just get everybody to pose and you take
Oh my
pictures.
God.
Sorry.
Just like
They've already got the all-terrain vehicle, so they don't even need that. You can just throw it on rails, and there you go.
Oh, did you guys
Yeah.
play the DLC with that? Was that fun? Or the patch?
It's actually makes it's weird. I still prefer getting around via Chocobo because it just feels less invasive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it still was really easy just to just hop in and just go wherever you want and not have to worry about, okay, now I got to get out and summon my Chocobo and now tread across. Like you just go there. But a part of me, I just don't like the style of the vehicle as much. It's not as satisfying to look at as the classic Regalia. But
I feel like because
Oh,
the
yeah.
Still really
story is
neat.
kind of botched, like all I would have really preferred is if they like opened up that final land and just made that like an explorable territory.
Yeah.
Which land is that?
Oh, yeah,
I
I think I would have preferred that instead of more kind of story sequences.
Yeah, and be careful of spoiling stuff. I know Final Fantasy 15, I feel like is past the spoiler mark, but we did have somebody request that we refrain from going into more 15 story stuff. So
Apologies.
yeah, no worries. They did expand one of the endgame areas with the Royal Edition, though, so it's not the whole world, but it is
Was
a large.
Porto, I think.
No, it's like Royal Edition expanded the final area of the game into
It
a
was the
full
new
dungeon.
Windows edition that just
Has anybody played it though? Like, is it actually very
Yeah.
expansive or like it was
Yeah,
good?
I reviewed it over at my other outlet. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
cool. Okay.
it's more expensive. It's not amazing, but it's all right. They added in some story cutscenes that I think should have been there in the first place, but I'm just glad they're there now. So it's okay. We have talked enough about FF15, though. I think we should save it for when we have more news to get into. Another E3 thing that I wanted to bring up is Sony's E3 2018 press conference is set for June 11th. We knew it would be happening because it always happens, but I guess this year they're taking a bit of a different angle. They said they want to do quote-unquote deep dives on 4 games: Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, and Last of Us Part 2. Now, of those, arguably the only one that we would cover would probably be Ghost of Tsushima. We don't know if it has RPG mechanics necessarily, but it's a pretty good bet considering that's the trend du jour, and it's set in like a big open world Japanese environment and stuff. So my own disinterest in open world stuff these days aside, I think that what we've seen of the teasers looks cool, so I would look forward to seeing more.
Yeah, it looks nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and they said that that's not all they're showing, but that's like their main focus. So there is still potential for them to announce, I don't know, they said some third-party stuff, so maybe we'll get some cool announcements. I was trying to think of something off the top of my head that I wanted them to announce, but nothing really came to mind.
Yeah, nothing really jumps out at me from Sony right now as far as them just showing other, like they'll show Square stuff and whatever, but there's nothing big RPG-wise I could see coming from them that would really floor me.
Legend of Dragoon 2. Come on, let's do it.
That would be
Oh,
incredible.
God.
But if they got some really cool indie stuff, even a Legend of Dragoon like HD remaster would be interesting.
Interesting is the right word, Greg. It would be.
It'd be an interesting choice, and I would possibly dive back into it. But
I would too.
I don't
I
know
would
why they would want to do
totally-
that.
I would totally beat a horse dead. I'm sorry if that analogy was violent. For for a Final Fantasy IX remaster.
Well, they have one on PC. You mean like a full remaster?
I mean, like, yeah, like a legit one.
yeah,
Like
that'd be
I love what they're
pretty
doing with
awesome.
7, you mean?
It doesn't have to be that much either. Like, I kind of want something more middle of the way because I feel like asking something like Final Fantasy VII Remake is a lot to ask for, and I wouldn't
Yeah.
just casually ask that. Nor do I think 9 needs it. But I would love like a proper makeover. Like, I know I've said it last few episodes, but like, like I've been playing a lot of the Zelda HD ports, and I think those do what they do flawlessly.
You mean like the Ocarina of Time 3D kind of
Oh
thing?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice upgrade.
That was a great upgrade.
It kind of
It
keeps the
basically
same
kept
bones.
the exact same skeletal structure. They do tamper with a few things to make it more playable, and that's it.
Yeah, and actually, the 3DS versions of the two Zelda games are some of the few 3DS games I have actively wanted to use the gyroscope for because I like aiming.
Oh,
I
I
think
love aim. Yeah, the
It is
arrow bosses are
satisfying.
so much better with that.
It feels good. Yeah,
Yeah.
intuitive even.
My other speculation I want to go back to for a second to Square Enix. I really, really, really want them to announce that they're porting War of the Lions to Steam. Please.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
I think Nintendo said they got like their first title that's gonna like sell 20 million copies to announce at E3 or something like that. So I think
Nintendo?
Nintendo's starting to hype up a whole bunch of shit stuff.
Huh.
Interesting.
What do you think? Yeah, what do you think it could be? A new IP?
Smash seems to be one of the big ones they're going to be showing off for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then we'll get to find out whether that Smash is a new Smash.
I
unlike
wonder if like a Zelda title would be part of it, and they just like do an early like barely show anything kind of teaser for it. But I don't know, I feel it's just going to be on the same bones of Breath of the Wild, right? I know the Pokemon. Like, there's a lot of rumors circulating about a Pokemon for the Switch as well.
That falls in our purview. Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely
I
does.
would love that. I'm excited to see what Gen 8 is like.
And like, there's a lot of talk. Like, would a Switch Pokemon change the whole thing up? Would they change up the battle system? Would it be online, etc., etc.?
Yeah, well, I
would
mean,
it just be another stadium game?
point number 2, yes. Point number 1, hopefully. I mean, I think the Sun Moon changed up the formula more than any Pokemon game since some of the originals did. Like, probably, I don't know, when they moved to Diamond Pearl, they're probably the biggest changes. Diamond Pearl was probably the biggest overall change, and then Sun Moon was the biggest change after that. But yeah, I think that the Switch one has got to do something fairly different. I don't know. I mean, I would like it if they did, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They could keep the same battle system, but
Would you want that?
no, see, when Black and White came out, one of the things that... No, it wasn't Black and White. Was it? Maybe it was XY. I'm trying to think. There was one that was like, they only had the new Pokemon in that region until you beat the Elite Four. I think that was Black and White.
That
I
sounds
think
like Black and White.
so.
Because
Yeah.
I loved that. I love the idea of inhabiting a world that's like nothing but Pokemon that you're not familiar with, and sort of being forced to make a team of, like, you can't just fall back on Pikachu. You got to choose one of the new
Yeah, you
electric
gotta
types.
choose.
You gotta get to
That's
know the
actually a
new
really good
ones.
idea.
I'm super into that, so I would love it. And then, of course, like, people who want the old ones, after you beat the game, you get access to them. So if the new Switch Pokemon comes out and has a similar formula, I want to go back to the Black-White model of new Pokemon until you've seen it all and gotten through your journey.
I also wouldn't mind if they did another thing where they introduced a lot less again, and just make more forms. Like, I like that there's like a poodle Pokemon that you could screw around with its hair, or like one of the bug ones with different patterns. Just do different ones, I think. And like, I love that there was a lot of Lola versions too. I think that was actually a really cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You don't have to keep going to the design board, and there's been a few very questionable Pokemon designs over the years, but like,
What
just
do
kind
you
of work on
puffy?
what you have now. I think would be great.
Yeah. The thing
They
I
did
always
that
go back
with
to...
Pokemon Pinky, right? Was they didn't really make that many for X and Y.
Yeah, they didn't.
Wasn't it like 80 or something like that?
Yeah, they had a lot less that gen.
Yeah.
But there was
But
still
that's
also
fine. I mean, there's still so many.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say the thing I always go back to is people love to bring up the argument, like the, I guess, so-called Pokemon purists will be like, original 151 only. And they'll be like, Pokemon these days are so dumb. What do we have, an ice cream cone? And then, it's like, well, okay, well, in Gen 1 we had a Pokeball and then an upside down Pokeball. How about that? We had a pile of goo. We had a bunch of eggs, right? Like, there have always been questionable Pokemon, so it's not like one gen is worse than the other.
the odd time where they phone it in.
Yeah, I mean, and when you're
They're
making that
allowed,
many
it'll happen.
designs, right? Like it's gonna happen. So
Oh yeah.
that'd be.
And there's always been those for the Sony press conference. There's also been those like rumblings of a PS5 announcement.
I'm not ready for that. I don't want it.
I don't feel like a lot of devs are ready for it either.
It doesn't seem like it's time yet.
No.
But that's just my subjective take. I think
last generation was really long.
Yeah, I mean, this one, it's because we didn't see as big of a leap between the PS3 and PS4 in terms of like raw graphical processing power. And there was a leap, but I think I've said before, I think that the main leap was in terms of feature set and like communication, because now streaming is like a thing. And back when the PS4 came out, even that few years ago, streaming wasn't as big. It was certainly a thing and it was like involved, but ever since then it's really blown up. Twitch is huge. And so with the PS4 we saw more in terms of like being able to utilize your smartphone for stuff as a second screen, or to be able to message people, and then like we have richer community features and streaming type stuff. And
I have heard people talk about, like, I kind of want to get your takes on this, is that if they released another Switch, it would be like a portable dedicated one, or like if they're just going to switch kind of gears onto that.
I don't want that, because I think that what they've got right now is a really perfect sort of harmonious balance of handheld and TV console.
It still allows for the like good couch co-op
and
screen.
I'm not as sold on the system as a portable system. I find it kind of annoying for that.
It's like, for me, it's less than ideal, but it's an option that I appreciate having. And I just worry about sort of splintering the development out into, if they were to make a second Switch, or even just like the same Switch but a beefier handheld, you inevitably are going to get stuff like the PS4 Pro, where companies are developing for one sort of hardware SKU over the other. Like they're modifying the specs of their games to better suit one platform versus the other, or one model versus the other. And I think that that's kind of, it fractures the community and like how people are able to play together. And it's just confusing for consumers.
Right now,
yeah.
Like, apparently Nintendo still has some items for the 3DS lined up, allegedly. Like, they're still not done with it. But I mean, like, it's obviously way past its prime. It's for sure.
They might not be, but I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I switch over to Switch.
Oh, 100%. If I could transfer all of my 3DS games to my Switch, I'd ditch it in a heartbeat.
I love that, yeah. Because 3DS has been one of my favorite consoles ever. It just had so many awesome games to me.
Oh, there are lots of great games. It's hard. I guess now I'm spoiled. It's hard for me to go back to playing on a 3DS when I have a Switch in my house. And it's like the screen is so much sharper and the controls feel better. It doesn't cramp my hands as much. Like, it's bigger, it's heavier, but it's more comfortable. Specs are better, and I have access to like amazing games. Like I could play Xenoblade on the go if I wanted to. Xenoblade 2. I don't want to talk about the 3DS port of Xenoblade Chronicles 1 because that pisses me off. I think it was a bad port. People like it just fine, but it's so ugly.
I have it literally just because it's a portable way to play my favorite game. It's definitely muddy as hell.
Yep, it is. It's a shame. But I mean, good questions though about the E3 spec stuff. We'll have plenty more to speculate as well as E3 gets closer, because we're still about a month out.
Surprises! I'm so excited. Yeah, so I don't even mind the drought, just because I love going there and just like having my jaw open like half the time. Like, oh my god,
it's such a fun time.
It is fun to stream into and feel part of that whole collective when I'm streaming and being
and I'm so glad that that's an option now, that it's so much easier for people who are at home to get the full sort of E3 experience.
Honestly,
sort of being
if you're just looking for news, it's ideal to just sit and watch it from home.
Right, yeah, we've talked about this, how the people who, like, when we're writing news articles at E3, we often miss stuff because it's being announced via like some stream while we're at some event. So if you just wanted to get pure news out, it would be better to just sit back at home and
you go there because like it is an event, like it is fun. You get to actually talk to developers and people in the business. You get to see it firsthand. You get to do the demo thing. But for the most part, I mean, if you're just looking straight for that thrill of the news, you're actually just better experiencing it from home.
That makes sense.
And E3 is a wonderful opportunity. I feel very fortunate that I'm able to go. It's a great time, and we get a lot of really cool work done while we're there. So.
And it's cheesy, but we get to see friends.
Oh yeah,
that's not cheesy at all.
That's honestly a big part of it too.
RPG fam is an international family. The RPG fam, and having you all able to
If
come
we
to
ever
one
start
place.
like a charity thing, we got to call it RPG Fam.
Aw,
Maybe
we
some-
are there.
I was
It's
gonna
cute.
say, speaking of the streaming thing and whatnot, one thing we didn't touch on with Square Enix is apparently they're going to pre-record their announcements.
Oh yeah, they're joining
They're not
Nintendo's
doing a live
ranks.
thing.
Yeah, and just having
Yeah.
it done ahead of time.
Okay,
How do you
Cool.
feel about that?
that's
I
fine.
mean,
I mean, that
It's a
way they
good
can
idea.
curate and tailor exactly what they want to say and not screw it up. So
Yeah. No, and isn't that basically what kind of instigated Nintendo to do it? Just a few too many issues with the AV. It's just like forget it.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's easier for them to do that flat out than to have
Yeah.
to coordinate a big, bombastic live presentation for this kind of information. And
and
plus,
then
when
they
they,
get the treehouse talk back after.
yeah, and when
Yeah.
they, exactly, so they can still have a live element. And when they record all the information ahead of time, they can sort of like perfectly match or to however they think is perfectly match trailers and footage with how they want to time the announcements and show stuff. So I don't know. I'm cool with it. It doesn't allow people to ask questions, I guess, but like people don't ask questions at press conferences,
No.
like the traditional E3 gaming press conferences anyway. So I don't know.
Not during
They're
those
not
big
really
reveals, no.
conferences; they're more presentations.
They are.
Yeah.
It's definitely very big for the investors and such. Now, do you
Yeah.
think other companies are going to possibly start going that
I could
route?
see that. I mean,
Well, see, but that's the thing is that this is a media event. Like, it's great that they opened up E3 to the public, but I mean, first and foremost, it is a press show. Like, it is for other like-minded companies.
And do you
It's not really
speculate
something
that's
to
just
gawk
money
at.
wise?
I'm sorry?
Do you speculate that was maybe due to funding and such that they just needed another source of income, so they needed to open it up because it's just
No
getting
It's not a
doubt.
bad
put
idea.
on?
It proved that it was obviously successful. People, the public does want to see this event, and I don't blame them. In terms of how worth it is, personally, I wouldn't pay for it unless I was going for free with the team.
Yeah,
because it is
It-
pretty pricey from what I recall.
it is very pricey. It's like $250.
For how many days?
I don't even know if that's for the full thing.
Like for a few days and like again, you're gonna be largely waiting in line if you actually are committed to seeing some of the bigger stuff.
It's true, and it's similar for
Also-
like Penny Arcade Expo, for example, and those are $40 a day. So if you get
Yeah.
the whole 4-day package, that adds
Yeah.
up. But it's
So it's
I
a
don't
That's a
great
lot
thing.
more
Fine,
community
great.
focused. And also,
it's true.
if you're going to E3 to play demos of games, we now live in an era where companies can just snap their fingers and release a demo via the PSN or Steam or whatever,
Which
and
they've
you
been
have
doing. They're like, you can
right,
play
which happens a
now.
lot. So, and I love that. Those are my favorite E3 announcements. It's like, and it's out right now.
They
I think-
pull the Oprah. Look
Yeah,
under your
exactly.
seat.
You get Xenoblade 3DS. You get Xenoblade.
Oh no, I love that though. Yeah, and Solosi stole all my games that I was given. But yeah, you tend to
Monster.
actually go home with quite a few great trinkets and all that stuff. So I mean, it's worth it for certain things. Like I definitely think if you're going there just to play games, you're gonna find yourself sorely disappointed.
No.
Yeah.
And
You
they've
go
also
with
got to
friends
try
and
and
you
iron
go
it
and
out.
enjoy some gaming aspect, and you might not do it every year, but it's definitely it's like gaming mecca. You go there once, and you just got to see what it's all about.
That's how I feel about PAX, but PAX has had a few years to kind of curate the experience more for the community and figure it out. Whereas
Yeah.
that was E3's first foray, which again, as I've heard from your feedback on podcasts, it didn't quite go over great, but there's an opportunity for them to learn, hopefully, and
Yep.
make that better this year. And so you'll probably have a very different experience for how that works this year.
Yeah.
Well, like we also do what do you call it? What's the one in January? Magfest. Sorry, yeah.
yes.
We go for that. If I feel that's like really good for its own thing as well. Less for
Magfest
news
is
and more
magical.
just to hang out.
Yeah. I
One
love
of these days.
MagFest.
One of
Please come this year because I'm going to be closer to that coast. I'm so excited. I'm going to be in Chicago, so I can take like an hour and a half flight to get there.
that would be great. Downside is you're a lot farther from Fangamer.
Yes, I live 5 minutes away from the Fangamer office. 5
cool.
minutes by car.
Which just got announced.
What?
Camp
Fangamer.
Fam.
Yeah.
It just got announced, yeah.
Yeah, I went to that the first year. It was all right. It was a little shaky, but it was their
That's
first
first
con,
year.
so yeah. It was also kind of small that year, but
I'm
yeah,
curious how
I
it's
should look
growing.
into that. I think I'm leaving right before it happens because
I
it's
think
like
you are.
Yeah.
From
Wah,
what I
wah.
recall you talking about.
yeah. Well, not to go too long on the E3 train because, like I said, we'll have plenty of time to discuss that in the future before the show happens. I wanted to run through a few more quick hits of news. We just got an announcement that Monster Hunter, it's what, Double Cross XX in Japan, now known as Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate,
That's
is
right.
coming west to the Switch in August. So I think I heard a lot of people saying that they didn't think that was going to happen because World is kind of the big thing right now. And they were like, why would they bother, re-releasing basically what is it, an HD port of a 3DS game on Switch in the West? But they're doing it.
Because Capcom realized that when you sell games, they sell. I guess hey, apparently everybody likes Monster Hunter again. Let's go back to the backlog, see what we can do.
Well, it's like Solosi said, it's very likely that they're trying to capitalize on the success of World and open it up to more players.
Might as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see how they
traditional.
can fail.
So anyone who prefers the more traditional style gameplay from what World has kind of remodeled into this modern, more digestible format, they probably will enjoy that return to what they know.
Capcom's trying to dig themselves a bit out of a hole right now too, so
they should. I mean, they're actually working to revive Mega Man to some degree, so that gives me more faith in them than I've had in many, many years.
I think they saw the opportunity when they saw how Mighty Number 9 went. It came and went.
Just absolute garbage fire.
Oh my god! And they're like, I had a feeling they were like rubbing their hands together, like.
Right? Yeah.
Right? Like that's all I can see.
Probably.
Oh my god! Yeah. So I think they're, and you know what? I won't lie. I'd still pine for a Mega Man Legends 3 if they actually ever up for it. Why not?
Please.
I don't care. I don't care who makes it. Just let's see it.
A remaster of those of the first two would be great too. Make them
That's right. Yeah, they're doing that, aren't they? Or no, they're just releasing it.
Oh,
wait,
are they
Legends?
Sorry, I missed that. No, I didn't think they were. I think they're just doing another Mega Man collection, and then Mega Man X collection, which looks rad, but not in our coverage. So
Yeah, but
it's not
Legend. Mega Man
X.
No, sorry. Legends.
Okay.
I think we had a stream of Legends 2 a while back.
Yeah.
Legends would be under our coverage because it's RPG.
Yeah.
But those could use.
I love that game, man. There's nothing that creeped me out than going to those stupid dungeons where it's black and friggin' red-eyed Reaver bots are out.
Yeah, they are creepy.
Ooh.
Like that game gave me the willies. Every dungeon seems to be underground, and because the shading back then was so crappy, it was basically your shadows were all in black, and so everything looked twice as scary.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Just black and red robots chasing after you in the darkness. It's frightening.
That does sound kind of terrifying. I'm pretty sure my 7-year-old would not approve.
I would love to relive that in HD. Mm-hmm.
Those games are freaking terrifying, man. They got weird, but I loved it.
Yep, they're great games.
I never got a chance to play them, so I'd love an opportunity.
I hope you get one. I hope they announce more Mega Man stuff at E3. 2 more Switch announcements. There was a little Japan Indies kind of showcase that it wasn't a Nintendo Direct per se, but they.
I don't know if you guys talked, but what was it? Octopath Traveler hit 1 million downloads for its demo.
Whoa,
that's high.
That is a lot.
So I know our a lot of the people who watch us are looking crazy forward to that game, and so am I, quite frankly.
Yep, I am too.
I hope they do show some more of that.
I hope so too. I think we'll get more at E3 just because it comes out in July. So
yeah, that makes
sense. Sorry if I totally took away your steam right there.
You did, but that's okay. I'll forgive you. At the Japan Indie presentation, it was just like a video online. It's all good. The presentation online, they announced a bunch of games coming to the Switch in Japan, but these are also coming to the US as well. These two are Mineko's Night Market. I talked about a few episodes ago, I believe, which is the cutesy kind of Spirited Away, but it's Spirited Away art style and vibe, but you're running an item shop and running around doing cute stuff with cats. That is coming out on Switch, and so is Minit, M-I-N-I-T.
Oh my god, Mineko's Night Market looks like almost like Sanrio meets Adventure Time. It's really cute.
It is really cute.
Yeah.
Minit is the black and white Zelda played in 60-second bursts game. I don't know if I mentioned it here before, but I love Minit. It came out on PS4 last month, and I absolutely devoured it. I beat it in one sitting. It's not that long. You can beat it in a couple of hours, but it's really cool. It's the premise is top-down Zelda-style adventure. You play as this weird little bird kind of guy. Yeah, he does look like a Tamagotchi. And you get this cursed sword that kills you every 60 seconds. And every time you die, you go back to your home. And you find ways to impact the world around you by, let's say you cut down a tree, and then the next time you go through, that tree is no longer there, so you don't have to spend time cutting it down. Or you get an item that lets you, move boxes, and then from then on, you can take a shortcut through the boxes.
Is this on Steam? It's kind of hard to look up Minute Game without getting weird stuff to play at a bachelorette party.
Ew. Yeah. Well, just do MINIT. And
Okay,
you'll
I
get
looked
the
up
right
the
one.
time unit.
And is it
Yes.
procedurally generated?
No, it is all hand designed, which I really like because if it was procedurally generated, I don't think it would have been as fun. The
Nope.
the
Oh,
sort of meat
cool.
of the game comes from figuring out puzzles. It's like how do you approach each sort of obstacle given your short time frame, and
Uh,
as you sort of venture further out from your home, you can find other home bases so that you're not starting at the same spot every time. It's really, really good. Check it
Oh,
out.
neat.
Good soundtrack too, and pretty replayable because it has like a hard mode and uh,
That sounds like
slight.
it'll be right at home on the Switch.
Yep, perfect for
that's
Switch. So
Great
awesome. Yeah.
for
can't wait.
portability.
I
Yep.
think
I
that's
mean,
interesting.
I think
Seems to
everything
be,
is perfect for Switch these days. They're saying.
Yep.
no, but like again, I've been seeing talk about that too, where it's like it seems like they're not really doing the virtual console thing. They're just focusing on a lot of indies now.
hmm Which I
Good and
hope that
bad.
they continue to add to the newly announced Nintendo Online service. Like, I hope it's more than just NES games. It'd be awesome if they could build up a huge, like, PlayStation Now-esque library of classic games to play, because
I
I would be
imagine they
much more
will.
inclined to pay for that.
Especially Nintendo. Like, I mean, these are like the one of the biggest in makers in classic games, right?
Yeah,
It'd be
they're
good to have a
pioneers,
library that you can always access.
and
You
they
shouldn't
like
have to go
money.
through the drama of like re-announcing a game for virtual console for this system, and then for this system, and then for this one.
I know. I
Uh,
mean, I know that I spend a fair amount of time pining over re-releases of games that I want just on modern hardware, like upscaled in some way. Because like Xenoblade Chronicles One, in my top 5 games of all time probably, but I don't have a Wii anymore. I just don't.
yeah.
So, and I don't want to play the 3DS version because it's all muddy and gross, like we just said. So, I would love a re-release of that on Switch. So, but I mean, that's not quite the
That would be
whole virtual
snappy.
console thing, but I would expect that to be like a retail re-release. But yeah.
Tragically, we are getting close to Wii games being virtual console retro.
I know, right?
Makes you
Well,
feel
they
old.
had Wii downloads on Wii U, so
Yeah.
That's true too. So we're
Indeed.
not far off from that, but I would love to see them even port. Just there's no clean way to do it, porting DS and 3DS games to the Switch. I feel like the only way they could do it is in. No, I couldn't even do it in docked mode because you can't hold the screen and then have the TV as the second screen. So unfortunately, I don't see them having a way to do that anytime soon. As much as those games would be great to play on, unless you held it kind of like upright version and then had the two screens split that way.
That's funny. Somebody, Nintendo just announced that they're releasing a little like charger dock for the Switch, and then somebody was like, "Ah, yes, finally, they're making it possible for me to play the upcoming port of Kid Icarus Uprising on Nintendo Switch."
Oh, I would love that.
That game had the worst control scheme for being such a good game. It gave me
Yeah.
cramps to play it.
But I'm just trying to think like how else could they have done it? And there was no easy answer, and they give you a friggin' peripheral stand to help make it work. That's it's proof that it didn't work, basically. That stand is proof that it just doesn't work. But
Yeah.
They
God,
tried.
that's a game I would kill for them to port. Not an
It'd be great.
RPG,
It
not on
deserves
cartridge,
it.
but it is such a cool game.
It does, yeah.
Go play it, everybody.
Go play it. Go play Kid Icarus. And one final piece of news for this episode so we can wrap it up. I need to eat lunch, you guys. Final Fantasy XIV's newest patch is coming out very soon. Just as of today, it's been announced that it's going to be released on May 22nd, and the patch is called Under the Moonlight. It's going to continue the main storyline and a bunch of stuff, but most probably interesting as like from an outside point of view is they have the continuation of the Ivalice raid series and storyline, and the new dungeon is, which we knew before this, but the new dungeon is the Ridorana Lighthouse. So Final Fantasy XII's big, like the Pharos at Ridorana, that huge tower towards the end of the game, that infamously long tower.
Yes.
That's the new raid dungeon. I mean, obviously it's going to be different for 14, but we're going to go there.
Already
and
set up to be a raidy kind of thing.
and you can fight Belias and Famfrit and looks like, what is his name? Construct 8, the robot guy from FF Tactics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
What is it? Worker 8?
Worker 8.
There you go.
So look up the trailer for 4.3 Under the Moonlight. It is kind of spoilery, but if you're not an FF14 player at all, then like it doesn't matter. You can just look it up and see the cool FF12 stuff that they're adding to the game. So also Vaughn's outfit will be a reward that you can get for like melee DPS. So
I won't lie, I made a bit of a face when I saw what their version of Ramza looked like.
Oh yeah, a lot of
"Ugh."
fans have had a problem with that because he's kind of a jerk too.
Is
So
he?
we're wondering if like there's some reason maybe he's not the real Ramza. I don't know, but
Ooh.
yeah, that could be a thing. So
Hopefully, he has some redeeming qualities at some point.
probably there's
He
mentioned.
looks so beautiful in Dissidia, man. I was surprised they were able to translate that design.
Yeah, there's reference to Delita and stuff too, and we have Begamnon from 12 and stuff. So there's a lot of Evil East stuff crossing over. So I guess we'll find out. But by the end of this raid series, we'll know where it's all going to go. So
Hopefully, there's another super fancy boss for you to get a T-shirt for.
yeah, that'd be fun. Well, at E3 this year, they're going to have there's a new like boss fight they're introducing in this patch, and they're keeping it a secret as to what it's going to be. So they're going to have that at E3, whatever it is. So I'll have to
Oh,
fight.
very good.
Fun fact: we tried to do the Susanoo, Annette and I, because Annette has some experience doing WoW back in the day, and I've dabbled in like the beta, but I haven't played it since. So there's obviously been a lot of growth since. But we got in the lineup because she wanted to try it out. Because it seems, well, I'll get to that in a second. So we got in there and we're playing with a few people who've been trying to do this challenge with the T-shirts, and they were trying to coach us through, and they all seemed pretty high and positive on it. And I kind of felt bad because I was like, I don't think we're going to be it for you, but okay. And we wiped within, I want to say 5 minutes. It was pretty rough. But
Yeah.
they're just like, you can play the healer. You should be fine. You'll be fine. I was like, I don't know what any of these things do, but your funeral. So it
Were
was,
you allowed
it
to
was
sign
rough.
into your own account for that?
No, they don't let
Oh,
you.
I don't think so. No, they just give you a preset of level, whatever, some maxed out levels. So you just kind of pick the job you want and the gear, and you go for it. And it's very neat. But as I was briefly mentioning, it'd be really nice at these events if they still had like a station where you could just run around and just try the game out. That way you weren't under the pressure of trying out the battle, because it's not very welcoming.
Cool.
They had
to
that
the game.
at the Final Fantasy 14 Fan Festival in Las Vegas last time, where
Which would have been great.
which is like obviously the event is geared around just that game. So they had stations where you could just play as a character and run around for a while.
That's
And
good.
that makes absolute sense. Although now that I understand that the game is free to play for a certain level, that is, I guess, possibly why too, that when you can just do that at home.
Yeah, it's like free up to some low level, and then you have restricted features like you can't use certain chat functions and can't join like companies and stuff. So.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, but
yeah.
Anywho, let's wrap the podcast up for today here. We had a lot of good discussion, but I want to save a lot of the E3 stuff for another time when there's more to speculate on. So if you enjoyed the show today and you have questions, comments, or spare potions, you can email us at podcast@rpgfan.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at rpgfancom and like our Facebook page at facebook.com/rpgfancom. As Steph said, we now have an Instagram account, so you can follow that as well. See all of her cool art. That is just on Instagram. It's rpgfancom, just like the rest. Finally, you can subscribe to us on iTunes or through the RSS feed. It would be super cool of you to leave a review, since apparently nobody is doing that. But we did get a piece of very nice fan mail that called out Greg's crappy microphone. Which is
This should hopefully be the last episode where it happens. I'm in the works of getting my new one, but thank you for calling me on it, because it's something I would not have known was an issue.
Yes.
Quality on mine, okay?
Yes. A little late for that,
$20
Steph.
I love
We'll
it.
let the fans we'll let the fans determine that now. Email your complaints about Steph's mic too.
Podcast@rpgfan.com. Good stuff. Well, we appreciate you tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. So for me, Steph, and Greg, thanks for listening, and we'll see you all later.